This conference will now be recorded.
All right, I'm just gonna go.
Looks to me, Bob.
Okay, here we go. The time being 4:45 p.m. I'd like to call the April 16, 2020 meeting of the Tilton Select Board to order. As chair of the Tilton Select Board, due to the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, and in accordance with Governor Sununu's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note, there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are using the GoToMeeting platform for this electronic meeting. All members of the board have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. The public is encouraged to participate remotely using your smartphone, tablet, or computer at globalgo.com/join/817-026-717. This information can also be found at our website at tiltonnh.org under Meeting Schedule and Agendas, Board of Selectmen. The public also has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting using your phone through dialing the following toll-free number: 1-866-899-4679, and the access code is 817-026-717. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting via our website and the town kiosk located outside Town Hall. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please email web@tilton.org, and that will be monitored during the meeting. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. If the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at that time. If you're a member of the public listening in and have questions, please write your questions down. And at the end of each agenda item, I will ask if there are any questions from the public before we move on to the next agenda item. Please clearly state your name and address and then ask your question. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Please also note that there will be a non-public session at approximately 6:30 p.m. At that time, the selectmen will exit this meeting to go into non-public and return to the public session after the non-public session is complete. We expect to return to the public session at approximately 7 p.m., but cannot guarantee that. This meeting will be held open until we return, at which time we will entertain other business. If there is no other business, we will adjourn the meeting. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, also please state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. Pat.
Selectman Constantino present, and I also have Chairman of the Board of the Planning Board, Jane Alden, is also present sitting with me, and Kim will be returning home from work anytime.
Thank you. Peter?
Peter Fogg, present. I have 2 dogs that may be in and out of the meeting.
Woof. Jessamine here, and there's nobody in the room with me. Eric?
Pyra's here, and just me, myself, and I in the car.
Thank you. Scanlon? John? John?
John Scanlon, I'm here by myself. Hello, can you hear
Okay.
me?
I can hear you. Thank you, John. Given the unusual circumstances, we will dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, agenda. The first agenda item is to review, approve the minutes of 4:2 and 4:9. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair, I have a couple of corrections on the minutes of the meeting. Can we make a motion to table them to the end of the meeting where we have company guests on our meeting? Take them first.
Absolutely. It's if everybody else is in agreement. Peter? Peter?
Take a motion.
I'm fine.
Roll call.
Okay, I'm a yes. Let's move it to the end of the meeting, all right, gentlemen? The second agenda item is a report from our land use coordinator, Leanne Moynihan. You're up, Leanne.
Oh, just turning my mic on. Hello, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm here to give a report on the land use. There's been a lot going on in land use over the past month and a half since the corona. First thing I wanted to talk to you about was the changes in the department with the construction that's underway. I guess you don't get to see the updates now that you're not meeting in the conference room on the second floor, but we're pretty much complete. They were painting this week, so I think we're finally done with that construction. We've also moved all the file cabinets from downstairs to upstairs, so we have all our files upstairs. So that's a big move. And so we are working pretty hard during this kind of downtime in the building to get all that stuff squared away, to get our files put away correctly, and to get our offices organized. We're still a few weeks away from getting it all cleaned up, but hopefully it'll be done before you reconvene upstairs. You'll see a big change. So it's looking really nice. Kudos to Kevin and his crew for doing a great job and saving Jeannie and I from having to paint that. I think we thought we were going to have to do the painting, but it was some rainy days, and thankfully the guys, Steve and Jack, I think it was, were up there painting, and it came out really, really nice. So I think you'll all be really pleased with that space. In addition to that, we do have one new staff member, which I believe, I don't know if I've met with you since Janice started, Janice DeLacroix. She's a part-time employee. She is continuing to work during this time. She goes in part-time and is trying to get things organized. And like I said, it's a good time to get all those files squared away and keeping up with building permits. Little difficult doing a lot of training. I've been working as much as I can from home. So we've kind of suspended some of the training, but it's been a good time for us to get some organization done up there. So that's been going really well. We're kind of making the best of that situation. So that's what's going on physically and with staff. Few new things. I know that the Selectmen had approved us using CAI to get a GIS mapping system going. So that's finally come through. We did receive our first preliminary maps this week. So I am in the process of verifying those maps and making sure there's no errors before we proceed with getting that to the next stage of getting zoning added to it and getting the GIS and getting that online. But they did finish doing the maps and we have them, and they're currently under review. So we're going to see if we can get through that in the next week. As far as Planning board and zoning, like yourself, we're trying to continue to move things along in planning and zoning as best we can. Had a few bumps in the road. We've canceled a few meetings as you know, in March when this first came about, as well as we're down to one meeting a month in planning board. Zoning board already meets once a month. So the next scheduled meetings for both those boards is zoning is the 21st and the planning board is the 28th. So I guess just to back up a little bit with regard to membership, you've also been involved in making some new appointments, which I want to thank you and appreciate because we've been down quite a few members, particularly of the zoning board. So just to recap on the zoning board now, we are at full capacity, I guess you would say. We have Jim Engel and Matt Gilman, who are our veterans who've been on the zoning board since I've started. And we have actually 4 new members, even though it's a 5-member board. So we have Brian Chapman, Eric Usinger, Scott Davis, and that makes up the 5 full members of the zoning board going forward. So that will be very helpful for us to do our work. And we have Dwayne LaPlante as an alternate. So we actually have 6 members on the zoning board. That's more than we've had since I started here. So hopefully that will work out well. Planning board, I want to just bring your attention. We have 1 resignation, which I believe you might get in writing or have a copy of. Is Juliet Harvey resigned effective at the end of the evening on March 31st. So you will have that to take action and accept that resignation. Upon accepting that resignation, we will have 1 vacancy. So currently we have on the planning board, we have a new chair on the planning board, and that's Jane Alden. And Judy Tilton is the vice chair. We have Christine Dembinski, who's our secretary. And we have Todd Odell and Fred Senna, who took Eric Pyrus spot. No, Eric took Fred Pyra. Fred Senna took Eric Pyrus spot on the board, but Eric Pyra is still on the board as the selectman representative. So we do have a full board except for Juliet's resignation. So we will be looking for 1 new planning board member. So that's what's going on with our boards. As far as applications that we have pending, as you know, so the ZBA is meeting next Tuesday. They'll be doing their first virtual meeting on Tuesday with LAL Properties, which is a Honda dealership, which is looking for some variances for primarily lighting and signage. The planning board is scheduled for the 28th, and we have 2 applicants that will be heard that night, and 1 is White Rock, which is looking for some solar panels, and again, Honda, which is going to be doing their site plan approval, as well as a lot line adjustment and a conditional use permit. So that's what's going on with the planning board, and I know that you'll be hearing from the engineer on the Honda project tonight. Hannah Giovannucci and Chris Rice, I believe, will be here tonight to do a presentation on how it's going to impact Morrison Ave on their proposal. So that's, I think, pretty much all I have of news, and I'm here to answer any questions if anyone has anything they'd like to ask.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start with the questions with Selectman Constantino. Pat.
I'm fine with everything. I'm really glad that the construction is finally done. Glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that the new hire is working out nicely. Everything's good to go with me.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you very much. Peter?
He's muted.
Your microphone's off, Peter. There you go. No, it's turned off again.
All right, Peter.
Hey,
It's
try
finally
again,
turned green.
Peter.
It was red all along, either on or off. All I heard was the last 2 minutes of what Leanne said. The audio sucks tonight.
Uh, do you have any questions for Leanne?
Not hearing what she said, it's hard to form questions, Joe.
Oh, Peter, I can just
Yeah,
tell you,
I hear you.
remember we spoke of can you hear me now?
I think
Yeah, if
Leanne,
you
you
want to send me some bullets or something
Yeah.
rather than waste time.
Okay.
Okay. I do have a question. With regard to the planning board meeting and the zoning board meeting that are coming up. Are you coordinating that with Tim? How are we going to facilitate those meetings?
It's the same platform that you're using and I guess Tim just put his microphone on. He can speak to it, but we have the same setup that you have on the Tilton homepage. I guess we just have a different ID number, which gets you into the different meetings. Everyone's been noticed about that information, as well as it's on the website. So we're going to be doing the same format that you're doing here for the Selectmen's meeting.
Right. They're
Okay,
persistent
thank you.
conference rooms that are set up and available, and each board and committee has their own, as well as their own 800 number to call into for anyone that doesn't have access to a computer that wishes to listen or participate.
Okay, thank you. How about you, Eric? Eric?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
me?
Yep.
I
Okay.
can.
Okay.
Yes.
No, I just want to make sure that we don't have the issues that we had at the last meeting where, she cut us off at the end because she was controlling it. So hopefully, I don't know who will be controlling the meeting, but I just hope it doesn't get cut off at the end again.
Yeah,
That's all.
that was a Zoom meeting, the first planning board meeting that was done by the chair. This is going to be more done under the guise of the town. So it'll either be Tim, maybe, who'll be there to kind of guide us and get us on, or myself. So there shouldn't be that issue, Eric. But I hear you.
Okay. No, I appreciate all the hard work you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
How about you, John?
I'm good.
Mr. Chairman,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have one
Jean,
quick question.
Do you have any
Leanne,
questions?
Yeah, thank you. The one thing maybe you want to mention to the board is that you've been providing training to the new members of both zoning and planning, or the opportunities for them to train and get educated.
Yeah, there's a few online workshops which I have emailed to the board members. Zoning board was in April, and there was some training available, and I did make them aware of that, and they were to just notify me. It's through New Hampshire Municipal Association. There's also one in May for planning board. So we've been trying to get some of that training available to those members through New Hampshire Municipal Association, which we are a member. So that's free to towns that have membership. So we have been doing that. Thanks, Jeannie.
Is there any other questions for the land use coordinator? Is there any public that would like to ask a question of the land use coordinator?
Hi, Leanne. This is Chris and Hannah. We're here. We just wanted to make sure you guys can all hear us.
Yeah, Chris, I can hear you well. Thanks. Can everybody? Yeah, I can hear you.
Hope everyone's doing well.
Yes. So far, so good, right?
So far, so good.
Okay. There's no questions from the public. Our next agenda item is Hannah Giovannucci and Chris Rice from TF Moran, the engineering company representing the proposed Honda auto dealership. Honda is proposing an $8 million project for Tilton on the south side of Route 3 across from Lowe's. They will be meeting with the planning board and the zoning board, and those are coming up on April 21st and 28th, respectively. They are also, as a courtesy, meeting with the Conservation Commission on April 20th. Tonight's presentation to the Select Board is important because they are proposing some changes to Morrison Avenue, which is a town road that the Selectmen have authority over. Okay, so Ms. Giovannucci, would you like to begin your presentation?
Yes, hello everybody. Hannah Giovannucci. Can everybody see my screen first of all?
Yes.
Hmm.
The plans.
Yes.
Can anyone see the
The
plans?
thumbnail.
Yes.
I see the little screen. Yeah.
I can see it.
If I can just make a suggestion to everyone, at the top of your screen, you should see an option that has right in the center of the screen that shows you different options for viewing. One of them is to hide everyone's picture, and it'll bring up a larger image of what she's projecting.
I'll wait probably 30 seconds so you guys can change that over before I begin speaking on that.
Yeah, except for which one do I hit, Tim?
Hide everyone.
Yeah, I don't see that as an option, buddy.
It's right in the
Yeah, it's
center of
there.
the screen at the top.
Oh! All right, here we go.
And you also have controls on the right-hand side when it comes up to zoom in, to take a snapshot, what have you.
Nice.
Nope, I'm stuck, but we're good.
Okay.
Okay. So we've been asked to come before the board today and speak to the community regarding the use of Morrison Ave, which we actually are only doing a curb cut connection and closing off existing curb cuts where there were previously residential properties. And we actually are not going to be changing any of the one-way or two-way directionality of this project the way that we have presented it. But we do want input from stakeholders and members of the community as we progress this project. We have about 10 plus different review agencies that this will be going through. Joe mentioned zoning board and planning board. We'll also be going to conservation commission, sewer commission, and there will be also state boards that will go before, like New Hampshire DES, New Hampshire DOT, and many others similar to that. As we mentioned, this is about a $7 million project, and in the audience we have clients from Planet Honda, Bill Feinstein, and Tia Sully. And so this project, as you might be aware, the coal is located right in this area. My cursor right here, which we previously did about 20 years ago. And across from here are 5 different lots, which will be merged into one to create this one large lot where we will place this development. So this development is going to be Planet Honda, and it'll be 2-story development with lower level area for service. So it'll be about 250 used plus new cars, which will be throughout this site, as well as service areas for our lower level service area. And in addition to that, we are going to have about 40 employees that will have available for high-paying jobs for the community. And along with that, employee use will be this, and this is why we're here, is for this lower level parking lot right here, which is going to be employee-only access. So if I could move this other plan over here, because I want to zoom into that so we can see this. And actually, before I do that, this entire portion of this lot, you see there's the zoning boundary right here, regional commercial area, and this is mixed use. So we do have a couple of parking spaces in here that will be in this mixed use area that will, this will then connect to that Morrison Avenue. Switch to the other plan, which will give a close-up of where our site is. And so this lower right-hand portion right here, where that employee parking lot is. We are not proposing to change any of the operations. So everybody will be, all employees will be coming in through this entrance right here to access this lot. Now, when they leave, they're going to go the path of least resistance, which will just be right out here where they can, as existing operations are, turn right out or left out. Now, just looking at the employee shifts, we have about 40 different employees, but on a given day with all the scheduling, there'll be about 29 employees in a given day and 9 different shifts. So if we're looking at this, there's a probably 14-hour window of when employees will be in and out. And let me actually pull that up because that might be useful for you to see when these employee shifts are coming to get an understanding of how spread out these 29 employees are. So there's a window between 6 and 2 p.m. where we have 29 employees coming in, then a window between 3:30 and 9:30 p.m. where these employees are leaving. And on average, when you divide this by 14 hours, you have about less than 1 trip per 15 minutes. And then if you're going to zoom in, okay, when are these employees coming in during these 30-minute periods? Well, then you might have 3 to 4 employees coming in a 15-minute period. Also, with New Hampshire, we analyzed this intersection here, this intersection, the main intersection, and another along East Main Street. When we looked at this section here, we have a breakdown of on our peak hour weekday afternoons, which is between 4 and 5 o'clock. We have 14 residents, existing conditions coming into the site through this axis here, and leaving, there are 8 residents leaving, either this way or this way. So taking into account our employees that will be coming in, we have 3 employees projected to potentially come in and 4 that could potentially go. And actually our 4 to 5 p.m. peak hour, look at what actually the schedule is. You'll notice 4 and 5, there actually is no change, but we included those 3 to 4 employees in case for the purpose of analysis. And then similarly on Saturday midday, this peak hour is around noon to 1 p.m. There are about 10 residents coming in through this entrance and 6 residents coming out through either this way or this way. And similarly, we have 5 employees coming in, 5 employees coming out. So we looked at traffic 2 ways, 1 per the shift and then 2 per the New Hampshire DOT peak hours. And yes, the traffic is slightly increasing, but not at unsafe levels. And in developing this land, we want to work with the community to improve the aesthetic of this vacant land that has been that way for years, and for a low impact use compared to other uses that were previously presented. And then also provide the town with tax revenue up to $150K per year based on that $7 to $8 million project projection that this will cost us. And with that said, I look forward to your perspective and input, and really would like to hear from the Board of Selectmen and community.
Okay. This time I think we'll start at the other end. Selectman Scanlon, would you like to ask some questions?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned because none of the people on Morrison Ave have been invited to any type of, community participation in this project or notified of it. It's kind of, when we did the Lowe's project and some of the other projects, the developers got together with the affected neighboring houses and, along the road, Main Street, to see what their concerns were and how they could address them in developing their plan. And that has not been done, so I think that's a major concern.
Do you have any questions?
Yes, would that be happening at all?
People hear me? We were hoping this town meeting would serve as a portion of that, but it's good to hear your feedback from that. We do have town notices that have gone out, I believe, previously for zoning and planning board, and we were hoping for those to be forums where the abutters could speak. But if the abutters would prefer to have more of a local meeting on site, I don't see that as an issue to discuss this project.
John?
I mean, that's it. I mean, abutters would be, I think there's 2 houses that touch the property. However, you have all of the people on Morrison Ave who are greatly affected by it, so they don't get noticed. And this meeting actually was noticed as just Hana Giovanci TF Moran Honda construction project, not as a public hearing. And so typically nobody would be showing up. I wasn't expecting to have a presentation myself, just more that you guys are coming in to talk. So I think we really need to have that to work with some of the people that are greatly affected by this.
How would you propose to do a meeting for people, the residents on Morrison Ave in this environment? Would that be like a go-to meeting with all those impacted?
Well, I think you'd probably have to reach out to the people and do that. But, you know, there's people on this street that do not have computers on Morrison Ave. Or so that could be a problem. But yeah, so that would be a step. So somebody's going to have to figure something out with that, or I would think that's my suggestion. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. How about you, Eric? Eric?
Hold on.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm there. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. No, I have, at this time, I don't have any questions at this time because I'll be at the planning board meeting. So I just, you know, I guess I've heard that there's, you know, been a lack of communication, but we're only required to notice a butter for, you know, for purpose of planning and zoning. So maybe, you know, you have to go a little grassroots, but that's all I have. I don't have anything for the applicant.
Okay. Now, when you've got the cars entering and exiting from Morrison Avenue, is that correct?
Can you say that one more time?
All cars going into the employee parking lot are exiting the lot and entering the lot by Morrison Avenue. Is that correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. You know that I'm not going to add anything. Quite frankly, I think the others have already said it. There's going to be a lot of people, and that street is not conducive to a big flow of cars at any time. But I'll move on. Peter, would you like to ask a question?
I'm good until I can see the plans at a level that I can pick out details.
I hear that. How about you, Pat?
Well, I don't know if this is proper for this meeting or not, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway. And maybe Dennis can answer this question. The global development that was going to go in there prior to that, weren't they going to use Morrison Avenue at the same time? Weren't they going to access Morrison Avenue as well? Wasn't there a curb cut coming in there? Can't hear him.
I think you're muted, Dennis.
We can't hear Dennis.
Well, no, I don't hear him either. Apparently, Mr. Gaudette is not on the line right now.
Well, we can see him, but
I can't
We
see
can
him.
check their planning and zoning on the plans they submitted previous.
oh, Leanne, are you aware of the prior plans?
Yes, I might be able to pull them up. Give me
Okay.
a moment.
I don't believe they were.
Yeah, as I recall, there was a tree buffer that was installed and those two houses were staying in place. It didn't entail using the existing houses in the mixed use area.
Was it the bowler plans?
Global.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have those ones. Global?
Global.
Neither of the previous two proposals were going to use Morrison Avenue. There was going to be a tree buffer and a fence.
It was my understanding that there was a possibility that they would use it in the future. Because that's when I found out that they owned the upholstery, they were buying the upholstery houses property.
That was Jane Alden speaking.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm very excited for the project to come forth for the town of Tilton. I'm very excited for this project to come forth. But I think that, you know, going along with what John's concern is, and, you know, because he lives in that area, is that Morrison Avenue, we have a very challenging road there because in some areas of Morrison Avenue is only, in some areas, 15 feet wide. And so if you add, you know, 29 to 40 cars on there in a given day, and you have traffic, as you can see on Morrison Avenue, some vehicles park on the side of the road, that increases the challenge during the day. And then also, when you go out and in on that curb cut coming in on the east, on the main street, there is an incorrect signage up there now where it says one way. I think we've asked them to take that down, and I don't know whether or not that mapping that you've done reflects the correct signage.
We were going under the assumption, because when we did our survey, those signs were still up in 2019. So our assumption that it was do not enter in one way, but our understanding was the one way would only be at this point, and whoever lives here or here could go out this way. But I agree with you how that right here. That's what our survey picked up. It was way in a do not enter, but do not enter is the more appropriate use for this, and that's how we understood it.
Right, that's an incorrect signage. Somebody put that up, and it wasn't noticed right away, and so we've asked the highway department to take it down because it's not a one-way. It's a do not enter is the correct one. But my point is that it's something that can be resolved if, in fact, your traffic goes in and out Morrison Avenue through there. When they come out through Morrison Avenue to the main street and not go down the entire way of Morrison Avenue. And I think that would ease all of, not just the abutters, but all of Morrison Avenue residents. So I might think that would be an easier resolve there if they came out of the parking lot, the employee parking lot, and took a right and went out, and then when they came in, they just came in that little piece up at the top instead of coming in at the bottom and coming up.
So are you saying coming in here?
Yes.
Okay. I think that would require the board's approval to change happen. We'd be willing to do that.
I think it would require the state to, I'm not sure, so. This is a state road coming in, and they're telling, right now, you can't come in that way, you have to come in that way from the state. But all in all, and I go along with John's concern on the Morrison Avenue. I think somehow if we can get the people involved in a way that they understand the project, I think that their concerns can easily be resolved in just talking it over. But I'm very excited about the project.
And speaking to that point, we'd be happy to pay for the abutters notifications for everybody along Morrison Avenue to come to that zoning or planning board hearing, if that helps as an opportunity for their opinion.
I think that in these trying times, without having like a go-to meeting, like John said, not everybody in Morrison Avenue has a computer, but they do have a telephone so that they can call in, John, and we would still be able to have their concerns be heard. So it wouldn't be, at least they could have their concerns be heard and recorded. That would be an option.
If I could
Joe,
make
can I?
One at a time. John.
Yes, and I'd hate to have everybody call in at the planning board meeting or the zoning meeting. That, at that time, it's kind of like judge and jury to make the decision for the project, and it would be better to have some type of meeting where people get together, that perhaps some changes could be made before a decision's made, like, no, we're not going to approve any of them, or something like that. That it's better to have people informed so they're not, so you can work things out before the meeting and a decision's made, because you're kind of stuck with the decision once it's made.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, thank you, John. Ms. Giovanucci, would you like to respond?
Yes, I was wondering who we should coordinate with if we want to just discuss this project with people on Morrison Avenue. Who should we coordinate to get that meeting set up so that we're not interfering with zoning or planning board?
Jeannie?
I'm happy I'm happy to work with Hannah to make that happen.
Okay, thank you very much. I do have one observation. You wouldn't have to mess with any of that if you just put the entrance exit to the employee parking lot over on the other side and exit them at the light.
There is a giant difference, and that's the reason why we're looking to use Morrison Avenue. There's a retaining wall. Let me see if I can zoom in so that you can see as well. I got to move stuff around so I can point. There's this giant retaining wall here and here that's about 15 feet, and that's a great difference between the main display areas and this employee parking lot. So it does create a challenge with the configuration to connect these two together.
I hear what you're saying. I don't see it because I've got the satellite view literally 100 miles in the air, and I can't tell one thing from another. But I just thought I would plant a seed. That's all.
We'll research it a little bit more and see if we can come up with a solution to get that to work better. But there would be, if we did a connection like that, there would be about 30 feet of fill for this employee area.
Can I say something?
Eric, by all means.
Yeah, just what she just mentioned is why the global and other proposals were not using Morrison Avenue, because of that height difference. It's like a little ridge. So that's why those previous projects were not using Morrison Avenue, because of that height difference.
Oh, well, that's better. Are there any other questions for the people from, what is it, TF Moran?
I guess just one thing we'd like to offer, if it helps at all along with the conversation with the abutters. I mean, we're happy to supply reduced copies of this color up that you're looking at and the aerial plan, and we could, offer to mail a copy to each abutter, and they're more than welcome to contact us directly with any questions if a group meeting is not desired. If we can find a place that we could do a neighborhood meeting where we could have everybody spread out enough, we're more than willing to do that as well.
Okay, I'm sure that the town administrator and the land use administrator will be working with you to help alleviate some of these concerns. If there's no other questions, then I'd say we move on. Are there any other questions? Are there any questions from the public?
Oh, Dennis, looks like Dennis is on.
I apologize to everyone. For whatever reason, I ended up with a laptop with no microphone, so I was able to get my phone to dial in. No, I don't have any questions. Obviously, I'm in support of this project, and I think you've already mentioned that it is going to be transformational for Tilton if we can solve some of these small items here. But overall, this project is potentially a big win. And Pat, you mentioned Global, and one of the things to keep in mind was Global was going to be a gas station with diesel pumps and so forth that were going to, have a bigger impact on traffic than a car dealership that mostly impacts traffic at off hours. So there's a lot of positives here, and I think there's things we can work out. As far as the residents on Morrison, if it wasn't already mentioned, we have a space here at AutoServe that's big enough so that we can have social distancing and get some of those residents if they wanted to be heard here at this location. So I offer that up as well.
That's outstanding. Thank you very much, Dennis. And I'm sure that Jeannie or Leanne will be in touch to try to coordinate something, if appropriate.
That'd be great. And it's a very good point on the Global as well, Dennis. Thank you. We're trying to figure out the road, the in and out.
Okay. Are there any other questions from anybody that might be out there listening? Well, hearing none, thank you very much for coming in and showing us these plans, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Thank you. We appreciate your input.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Now, we're a little bit early here, but the next item on the agenda are the Selectmen's reports. So, I'm the first one on the list. First thing on my list is, Jeannie, have the sweeping bids been called?
So, I was going to report it under I think I did actually on my report. The sweeping bids, we did follow up. Let me get that. And we called, we checked with the folks who had gotten the bids. Let me just find it. And one business had gone out of business. I sent you all an email. I don't know if you got it.
Yes, I did.
So one was out of business. The other one didn't want to bid. I think 4 went out. We got one bid, and then Kevin sent out solicitation to a new business in Tilton, asking them if they want to bid on it. So we're waiting to hear on that sweeping bid.
Who did we get bids from?
Pat, do you have that email in front of you? Because I sent you all an email about who we sent it to.
I can pull it up. It's right here.
Rules is out of business, I believe.
Which one?
Rule out of business.
Rules is out of business.
It says, as a follow-up to last night's meeting relative to the sweeping bids, RFPs went out to 4 companies. Rule Sweeping received but no longer sweeping. Avery Sweeping permanently closed. Mike Rabbit Enterprise left message, haven't heard back. Immaculate Power Sweeping responded to the bid. We sent KRM Landscaping New Business in Tilton a request today.
That was a couple days ago.
Yes, that was sent on April 10th at 2:25 in the afternoon, Friday.
So thank you, Pat. So at this point, we've got one firm bid and we're waiting to hear back from this new company.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, on September 8th, there's going to be a primary election. The general election is November 3rd. The Secretary of State is already putting out that anybody who wants an absentee ballot can have an absentee ballot. And they expect a large increase because of that. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up on that issue, and we need to secure the locations on voting days on September 8th and November 3rd. The church, Catherine Dawson, is still working on with the father priest over at the Catholic Church on that project, but those won't be ready for this year. Who was it that used to call the facilities manager at the high school in the past? Anybody?
So that was, Gail would do that. And I just want to, I had that under my report, but since you brought it up.
Sorry to steal your thunder.
Oh, that's okay. I'll have a shorter report. So I just wanted to circle back to you as the board because you made a decision as a board that you wanted, that we were going to have the elections where we had them, and that Catherine was going to investigate and look at the Booton Center to have future elections. So because of the COVID issue, that's changed, and I did talk with Catherine, and she's still working on that, but I felt like it needed to come back to this board for you all to say, yes, we want to do this because it's your decision, and you had made another decision before, so I just want to circle back and say, is this what you want to do?
Okay, how about you, Peter? Go first.
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay, that's one vote for whatever. How about you, Pat?
I'm whatever the board wants. It's fine with me.
All right, we have a consensus building. John?
I like keeping it stable in the same place if we can do that at all possible.
Well, just if I could intercede here, just a reminder, we had said to the superintendent that we were going to look for a place that would not use the high school in the future and a place that we could control. Because as you know, when you try to get into setup, there's always some challenges to that. So that was the direction the board was going in. That was what we had communicated with the superintendent, that after these next two elections, we would find another home.
Okay, so Jeannie, my question to you is, that's after these two coming up, or do we need to really rush around on the Catholic Church?
Well, I think after, if I have consensus from the board to move forward, then I'm happy to have myself or Gail call Rob and say, look, because of the potential problem with COVID-19 and the need for social distancing, we're thinking maybe we should reserve this now and plan, but we are still to look for our own location because that's what we told them before.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to get social distancing at the Booton Center.
That's why he wanted to do it at the high school.
Okay, who else? Eric? Microphone, buddy. Nope.
Microphone.
Microphone,
Eric.
come on.
That's
Eric.
He's talking, but
you snooze, you lose.
okay. He lost it. I think he's calling back in. We'll get back to him. I think we should start pursuing the church harder because even though I know that we won't be able to get it set up over the next little while, we have to do something to move forward. And I don't know if the Boughton Center is any good for us for items like a town meeting, even if it is for just for the voting part. Okay, Eric, want to jump in again?
Yeah, can you hear me? Well,
Yeah.
what about if there's no, what happens if they can't go back to school in the fall and school still be available to us?
That's a good question.
I would think that conversation would be had with what's his name, Rob, over there at the high school, or the superintendent, whoever. Because if they're not open and they won't open the building for us, then we have a whole other issue.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So the stretch of pavement over on Linden Avenue is going to be redone by Kenny Partridge as part of a larger thing coming up. They'll just be putting down the base coat, and Kenny stands by the underneath part, the gravel and the compaction and whatever, because he did it himself. Now that said, it still doesn't address the issue of is that the only sewer connection that didn't come to the property line? And if it isn't, are we going to have to cut up the completed project in 2 or 3 years to start redoing those sewer connections? And who pays for that? So just throwing that out there. And that's all the stuff that I got. Next on the list is Eric
Can I
Pyra.
have a question on that, Joe? Can I have a
Oh,
question?
yeah, absolutely, Pat. I'm sorry.
When we asked for that letter to go out, we asked also for the information obtained from the sewer commissioners, cameraing the lines and mapping them out. Did we ever get?
I think it only went out 2 days ago, Pat.
It wasn't in the letter, though.
Ah.
It wasn't in the letter. We asked that it be put in the letter, and it wasn't. But I know that the sewer commissioner did, in fact, camera the lines and map where all the inlet, whatever you call them, tie-ins go. So if we can get that information, maybe that will answer some of our questions.
Can we follow up on that, Jeannie, and send that over to them?
Yes, I'm happy to do that. I didn't see that in the minutes. I don't recall that. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. But I'm sure that since Peter's been part of these conversations, he knows what the board is looking for.
Okay. How about you, John? You got any questions or anything?
Is this Selectmen's reports or is this where we?
No, I had a question. I just wanted to know if you guys had questions. Okay. The next on the list is Eric Pyra.
Hi.
There you go.
All right. Well, it said I was disconnected before, and I wasn't. I could hear you. So I had a quick question. When do we start, or do we even worry about the fact that some of the income that we get, the revenue the town gets, comes from New Hampshire's meals and rooms tax, and well, there isn't a whole lot of that going on right now, and there probably won't be until the summer.
Tim, would you like to answer that question?
Yes. So you may remember back right before town meeting, I think Joe called it my doom and gloom review, where I went through what happened in the financial crisis to some of our revenues back in 2007, 8, 9, and then prior to that, the housing bubble. And I looked at what our potential liability, what I thought the liability was at that point in terms of the risk to our revenues. And the majority of that was based on motor vehicle revenues and also building permits. And since that time, the New Hampshire Municipal Association has sent out a survey to municipalities asking for a number of financial questions and the impact of COVID-19 on municipalities. And I've taken my best shot at showing what the town of Tilton's impact is going to be across the board. As far as rooms and meals goes, so as you're probably aware, it has little to do with what we have in the town of Tilton, but also very obvious across the state in a period of time. If it opens back up in the summertime, will we see revenues as a result of that? I don't know, but I did put in a significant amount of money.
Tim, excuse me. If you guys could put your mics on mute, because we're getting a lot of feedback and I can't hear. If you're not speaking, maybe if you could just put it on mute.
That's generally a good rule of thumb. But so in any event, I filled this out. I don't have a specific number for rooms and meals, but I applied risk factors in a number of areas and totaled that up, and it came out to at least 4% of our revenue. We were looking at, I'm sorry, 4% of our budget we were looking at in terms of the risk factor. So roughly $200,000.
Okay, I just rather, make adjustments now than in December, where if we have to panic. So.
Well, the other things that we're going to be faced with are, if our tax receipts aren't coming in on time, we may need to not only, I'm glad we upped our TAN for this year, but we might have to look to extend the TAN if our cash flow is in trouble. I have kind of I always have a plan up my sleeve where we can make adjustments on the expense side. Some of it's a little draconian, but I've always got something in the works. But otherwise, until we see, what goes on, from our actual revenues, we're really not going to know. And I can tell you, so far through the first quarter, our revenues are right on target. They're little. They were a little heavier in January, February than prior year, and then they're lighter in March. So, but as a quarter as a whole, we're over 2019's revenue quarter.
Okay, thank you very much. You got anything else, Eric?
When I was going through the manifest, I think the other day, there was something about roads replacement signs. Are they replacing all the street signs in town?
I can answer this one. Kevin notified us last week that the project had just been completed. We were required, because we had some out of compliance signs and some missing signs, to bring the signs up to date for the different streets in the town of Tilton. We had old signs and now we have current signs. And that was just finished up like a week and a half ago.
Okay. And
they changed by size. They changed by size, Eric.
Okay.
It's supposed to be 6 inches tall now, not 4 inches. So if you see any short ones, they haven't been changed.
I can't reach that high anyway, so that's okay. My other thing is street lights. It seems like there's, at least in my neighborhood, there seems to be a lot of street lights out.
A midnight shift patrolman should be noting those for Eversource.
Okay.
You can report that if you write the poll number down and either
Yep.
give that to Gail to give to Kevin. He can report it to Eversource.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, next one on the list is Mr. Scanlon.
Let's see if I'm back on yet. Here I am.
Yep.
That's good. So let's see. The Conservation Commission had a trial run, and Tim did some briefing to him before and got everything going, and that worked out quite well. One of the things, I did mention to the chairman that I believe there's a special introduction that needs to be read about the meeting, how it's being held first, and he was unaware of that. So if that's so, maybe somebody could touch base with them before next Monday.
Jeannie?
Jeannie, what you sent me.
Yeah, so who said, I'm sorry, John, who said that?
Chuck Mitchell will be the chairman of the meeting. I believe it's on.
Okay, John, so I sent that information to all the boards and committee chairs. The same information that Joe reads.
Right.
Okay, yeah, he might need a little coaching on that.
Well,
I don't.
Chuck Mitchell
Just
sent
read
it
it
to me, so I
right
know
off
he's
the paper. All he has to do, John, is read it right off the paper like
Yeah.
I
I mean, just no big deal. Just if somebody could reach out to Chuck to make sure he's aware of that, and
John,
he has what it is.
okay, John, but just so you know, I sent an email with the language.
I did see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he then
Just a heads up.
he then in turn sent it to us, so we know he's got it, Jeannie.
Okay.
Yeah, no big deal. Just to get things smooth for the first run for them. So anyway, that worked out quite well for the Conservation Commission, and that's about it. I will say that the work order process for the Public Works works great. I even had an opportunity to call Gail. There was a rather large pothole, and I reported it, and I guess Gail generates the work order. It goes to Kevin, and it was just, it seems really good, and it's in place, and it's working quite well from what I've seen. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, John. How about you, Pat? You're up next. Pat Constantino.
I had to unmute. So I don't really have I do have one question on the committee members and who really makes the decision on who gets to be the committee, a full committee member, and who gets to be the alternate committee member.
Jeannie, could you shed any light on this?
Yeah, so if you're talking about planning and zoning, we're severely deficient in zoning, and so we worked very hard to get people to apply for specifically zoning. And if you remember, we had 2 applications come in, and then we had 2 or 3 more applications come in, and it really was who came in, so the process is they fill out the application, it goes to the selectmen, the selectmen sign off on it, and then they become members. So if you're asking me who decides the term, when it's in front of you, that's your opportunity if you want it some other way. Because ultimately it's up to the selectmen.
Well, in zoning, we have somebody that was first on the list and I delayed it, but it got signed eventually. But then we have 3 people that came after that person, And so that person is the alternate, and the other three are the full members, and their term is all the same, and we don't really put the term.
No.
We usually leave the term up to staggering.
The terms are not the same, Pat. I'll have to disagree with you. Two are the same. I think it's Eric. I think Eric is a 1-year term. I think Brian Chapman and Scott Davis are a 3-year term, and Dwayne LaPlante, who is the alternate, I believe, is a 1-year.
So they got changed.
Well, that's the way they were, Pat. They didn't. I mean, they were. That's the way it was. I don't know if it was reflected correctly on the website or wherever that is, what you were looking at, but.
So who made the decision? Who made the decision to put Dwayne as alternate? And
I
Brian.
made that. Yep, I made that decision because the selectmen, in my mind, when the selectmen, and you remember there were one application in particular that there seemed to be some hesitancy, and in my mind, when the selectmen sign off, when we have all the signatures that we need, and those folks have been asked to be members, that's ultimately was my decision. I did it because we needed to get going. Now, if you don't want, but what happens is we get delayed and we get delayed and we get delayed, and we've got meetings coming up. These positions need to be filled.
No, I'm fine with that. But in the future, I think that as a board, we need to make sure that the terms are staggered, that we meet the people that we're assigning, because some people didn't get to meet these people that they're signing in as committee members. And that was one of the issues that we delayed it for. And that we as a board decide, if we're in this situation going forward, that if they're at full capacity, that who will sit out the as an alternate as opposed to a full member. And I think that decision should lie with the board in the going forward.
And I appreciate that, and all I have to say is I'm happy to make sure that happens, but in this particular situation, we needed to fill those positions to get, because we had meetings coming up. And so if the board can be a little quicker in making these decisions, that would be very helpful.
I'm with you 100% on that, Jeannie, and I mean no disrespect whatsoever to you. I'm glad it was you. I heard that it was someone else that made the decision, so that's why I questioned it. So
it was not. It was not.
Making the decision.
So if you're going to blame anyone, blame me.
Okay. The only other thing I have, and it's not complete, so I think I'm going to wait until next week, because Jeannie and I are working on the senior center, the van and training and that kind of stuff. It's not really complete, so there's no need to even bring it up. We'll bring it up next week.
I have one question for you, Pat.
Yeah.
With regard to the senior center, have you guys discussed how you were going to go about reopening?
Not yet, because we're
just
still
curious.
Community action is still in a shutdown, and the governor still hasn't allowed us to go back into go back to opening in any way. So we're still completely in a shutdown. The AA group called and asked if they could go and get their things, because they're not allowed on a Friday night either. So the music group is not allowed either. So we're not even thinking about it. We're actually trying to get the floor completed during this time, and we haven't heard back from Lowe's yet, or East Coast Flooring. And that's been 3 weeks now, and trying to get them to commit to a time.
Okay, thank you.
No plans yet.
Okay, Next on the list is Peter Fogg.
Yeah, question for Jeannie and Tim. When you sent the go-to meeting and all that information, did a copy go to the sewer commission?
Hi, Peter. Yes. So, what I was doing was contacting each individual, either the secretary for or the chair of the boards, and I did offer to the sewer administrator that I can set up one of those conference rooms. I just didn't want to do it and put it on the website if you weren't going to intend to use it, but it's easily done. There's no additional cost. And I did offer that, and she was going to let me know.
Okay, thanks. I'll get in touch and probably be in touch with you tomorrow.
Okay, fine.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We're breezing through here. How about the town administrator's report?
Okay, so last week you made a decision on the budget committee's secretary, the rate of pay and how it would be stay under the purview of the select board. One outstanding item is the job description, which you all got, and you wanted a week to look at it. So I'm hoping you've looked at that and you are ready to approve that. Unless there's any questions.
May I ask?
Okay, is there any discussion? Pat?
Yes. Jeannie, are you going to advertise this position? Is this job description going to be put out?
Well, that's a question I had for all of you last week. If you'd like me to do that, I'm happy to do it because ultimately it's the selectman's responsibility. So if you want me to, I will.
Okay, how about you, Eric?
But I haven't, I'd like to hear consensus. It was a question, but I didn't hear any consensus from the board. So.
We're trying to do that right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
How about you, Eric?
Yeah, if you want to advertise it.
Okay, Peter?
I'm fine with it.
I think we should advertise it as well, and I'm fine with the description. How about you, John?
Yeah, that's fine. Advertise whatever. Good route. I'll accept your decision.
There you go, Jeannie.
I'll make a motion.
Pat?
Make a motion. We accept the job description of the budget committee secretary.
Is there a second?
I'll second, John.
John Scanlon has seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Pat?
Constantino, yes.
Yes.
Jessamine, yes. Eric?
Pyra, yes.
John?
And Scanlon, yes.
All right.
Okay.
Jeannie, back to you.
Thank you. The next item had to do with the elections, and you already dealt with that earlier, so we're all set there. Under my FYI, you know that I sent the letter out to the sewer commission. We're waiting for a reply. In the meantime, I just want to confirm all paving is on hold until we hear back from the sewer commission, because part of that was a concern, and I think Pat voiced it too, and it was something that Scott Davis had mentioned last week, was what's actually going on underneath the road, because we don't have to pave just to have to dig it up. So the bottom line is paving is on hold. We're waiting to hear from the sewer commission.
Yes.
You also, did everyone get my report?
No.
Okay. Okay, it's on the dashboard.
That's why I can see it.
Okay. So then I'll go through my FYIs anyway. Scott Davis, I got a call from him the other day. He met with Kevin Duvall regarding the repair of the paving. He will repair it to Kevin's specifications, which we had talked about last week. Also around this issue, I'd sent you the trench permit and ordinance last week. And we already talked about soliciting the bid, the sweeping bid, so that's taken care of. True Green site update. I don't know if everyone's gotten a chance to see the railing today. It looks beautiful. The railing is up. The fence, the safety fence came down.
Love it.
The DPW guys were out there today leveling off the walkway. The trees, as you know, the removal for the trees is on hold until late spring. We did have one hiccup. I don't know if anyone's noticed it, but the dry hydrant from the fire department is now behind the fence. So they don't have access to the dry hydrant that's connected to the river.
That's bad.
Today with the chief, I went out there today with the chief, Mike Setar and Kevin Duval, and we've come up with a great solution. Kevin, having been a prior welder, the chief agreed that we could reduce the height, which actually works out better for the fire department when they have to connect up to the hydrant. So they're going to lower the height of it, and it's going to come. We can remove one of the railings on the fence because it's movable, and the hydrant mouthpiece will come out just a few inches. So we've got a plan, and everybody seems to be happy.
Yay.
All right, just a reminder, April 22nd at 5 o'clock, we have a non-meeting with Northfield Select Board and Attorney John Tague to talk about the conveyance of the Tilton Northfield Island. I will send you that conference information tomorrow. Next week's agenda, the chief will be giving a police department update, and Tim Pearson will want to be talking about new police station financing. And that's it for me, unless anyone has any questions.
I have one question.
Yeah.
Where on the drive is your agenda? Where did you put it on?
It's under 416.
Under Selectmen's Meeting 416?
Yeah, so you would see the board, it's the Selectmen's dashboard, board packet, packet 416. There is, it says TA report, Selectmen's TA report.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
So every week it will be there?
Yes. I will admit, if you want me to send it to you via email too, I'm happy to do that.
No, I'm good. Just as long as I know where to look, I'm good.
Okay. I think that's after I have to say, I think, you know, Tim's idea of putting that board packet dashboard up there for you, I think it's great. So I hope you all like it.
Are there any other questions for Jeannie? Okay. Hearing none.
Actually, I'm sorry. I got one more thing. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Actually, a couple more things. Last week, somebody, I think it was John, asked about getting a quote for electrical from JP Carter for the south side of the street. And I just wanted to circle back to you to let you know that the cost for the electrical conduit from last year was $5,500. If we go to Josh and ask him for a quote, my concern is we're asking him to do something. We don't have the money to put in electrical conduit. We didn't plan for it this year, and we will be delaying Kevin's paving of the south side of the street. Now, I was out there with Kevin today looking at, you know, how could we address this in the future, because obviously we don't want to rip up pavement. And he suggested that at the very end of the pavement, that we could go in that way if we decide we want electrical conduit on the south side of the street. But it's my opinion that this was not anything we planned for. We don't have the money for it. And we should get that paving done on the south side of the street.
I agree.
I agree. Constantine agrees.
John?
Oh, for me, no, I'm just concerned that, it was a topic that we've been talking about doing, and I just would hate to go and rip the sidewalk back up to put those conduits in, in the future. But like Jeannie said, I don't want to hold up the paving of it. I just want to make sure that we're not going to be having to redo it.
Well, I think,
the input on the money available.
I think Kevin's got a solution to that if that's something we decide we want to do in the future. The other thing I wanted to mention was the Winnisquam Market, the owners. They've come to me and asked me to ask the board if they could move the do not enter signs, the ones that are right at the edge. And they have parking. They want to move the do not enter signs back about 20 feet so that when people pull into the Winnisquam Market, they can go right and pull into those parking spaces that they have. So that's a request from the Winnisquam Market. Don't know if you want to think about it, if you want to see some information on it. It seems to me like you're all pretty familiar with the site.
I'd like to go up and take a look at it.
I understand what they're talking about, because when you first pull in there, you only have the spots in front of the building, because technically you can't turn right to get to their other parking spaces. So they're asking, so the signs would be on just past, so people can still access those parking? Is that
Correct.
what they're looking for? Yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. It still stops the problem of people through driving the wrong direction there, and keeps the traffic flow right, because they'd only be going to a parking space.
How about you, Peter?
I'd be concerned you get some sort of box truck there, you won't see the signs. All they do is they come in the other way and park like everyone else that's on that. And can I go back to the sidewalks for a second, because I didn't get a chance to address my question.
Okay, Peter, sidewalk.
The cost of putting in conduit for light poles is probably going to be well under $500 for materials, and then it's DPW labor. You can stub out everything and then blow the line after to pull your electrical. So if you want poles there, you can put the pipe in now relatively easy.
That's a great point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I put conduit in myself on a regular basis. It's quite simple. And maybe a little bit of coaching from Carter to see, because he would be the one that would make all the connections in the end. That perhaps that might be, as Peter stated, a good way to get through it.
Okay, let's go back to Winnisquam Market. I got no problem with moving the do not enter signs back. Peter?
I do.
Okay, so you're a no.
They can come in the other way, Joe, and park like everyone else on the strip. Like the Lobster Connection, the people going to the condos, Winnisquam Marine, they all have to come in the same way. There's no inconvenience to the store.
Okay, how about you? Eric? I'll get back to you.
Okay.
Eric?
I wish I had known. I just drove by there. I would be concerned because I don't understand where the parking spaces are. So my concern is, are you going to have cars for 20 feet facing the wrong way, and are they just going to say, screw it, I'm going to go down against the do not enter? So yep. I would be concerned about that right now. So at this point, without having a chance to go see it with my own eyes, I'll say no.
Okay, so
Jeannie?
Would I be correct in letting them know that until the selectmen go down and take a look at it, it's a no, or it's just a no?
I would say that that's correct. We'll go up and take a look at it, and go from there.
Can I ask a question?
Peter?
Can we have the PD look at it, because enforcement and all, moving that sign may affect their ability to enforce it.
Good point.
Yep, I can do that.
Can we
Thank
go
you.
back to the sidewalks after this?
Yes.
I didn't think we got a clear confirmation on whether or not we're gonna have Public Works do the work and put down the conduit.
My thought is that we see what that entails, because I would think putting those conduits in is going to save us a lot of money in the long run, and we have money for conduits, I would have to imagine, right, Tim?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go.
Did they not help put the conduits down on the other side? Didn't Public Works help put the conduits in down on the other side of Main Street, or was it entirely Josh doing it?
I couldn't tell you that, Pat.
I don't know. Kevin would know.
Does anyone know on this board where you want the lights? Because Kevin doesn't know.
No.
So we're happy to make it happen, but somebody's going to have to figure out where that's going to be, and just be aware that paving will get delayed, because that's not going to happen in a day or two. It's just not going to happen in a day or two. So
When are they planning on doing the sidewalk?
I think they were ready to go on the 27th.
Didn't Main Street Committee have a proposal for that?
I never saw anything, Joe. What the
They
last
did
time
not
we
have- They did not have a proposal for the south side of Main Street. We went and walked to the north side. We made marks on the pavement where we felt that they should go, and it was just an arbitrary determination of where we thought they should go. I don't know who would make the arbitrary determination at this point, because we didn't talk about the south side. So who? Kevin and Jeannie? They go down and you put them. Do you stagger them for the other ones, or do you put them directly across from the other ones? That's the only real question.
The one that made the decision on the other ones kind of was led by where the trees were, and Catherine walked with Josh on the other ones. That was my understanding, and said, okay, this and what helped that was where the trees were. But then we don't have trees on the other side.
Well,
and you don't have a lot of space on the other side, which is Kevin's concern. The sidewalks on the other side are not like the sidewalks on the north side.
Yeah, good point. They're not.
Okay, well, if anybody gets a chance, look at the south side of the street this week. We'll come up with something for next week. And if Jeannie, you could get with Kevin and see what his recommendations were, and get that out to us in advance, that would be really great. And hopefully we can make a choice. Jeannie?
I can tell you what his recommendation is that there's just not space on the south side of the street. The sidewalks are too narrow. And I personally would not be comfortable making that decision. I think it's one of the selectmen need to go down there and make those decisions about where that's happening.
Again, I hope the selectmen can go down there and see for themselves. We kind of know what the public director of Public Works thinks, and see if you concur. We can make this choice next week and move forward.
Let's take one other thing into consideration. If you lay pipe down, if you lay conduit down, and like Peter said, you have to stub it off, you're going to end up before we can afford any type of lantern lighting or anything like that, that's what, a year or two, that stub is going to be out there. We had trees to in inside where the tree area was, where there was a snub that came up, and that wasn't a trip hazard. It's going to be way open there as a trip hazard.
That
Yep.
typically a stub up doesn't mean it has to protrude through the surface. It could be below the surface, then that can just, as long as you know where it is, you could just cut that hole and get it. I mean, it would only, as Peter said, just cost the material. You
Okay.
know where it is, you just chop the hole and there it is. Cap it.
Got it.
Okay, so be thinking about that. Check it out, and we'll decide for sure next week. Jeannie, do you have any other items?
That's all I have. It's about 6:18 right now, and Tim has a few items. Tim, we've got a 6:30 non-public, just to, if you can do it between now and 6:30.
Yeah, of course.
Can I just ask a question, Jeannie? Jeannie?
Sure.
Can I ask you? I just wanted to make sure we were all set with Juliet's resignation before I left. Does that need a
I didn't
formal
know you
vote?
were still here.
Oh. I didn't know.
Constantino makes a motion to accept Juliet Harvey's resignation from planning board with regret.
I'll second that motion with regret. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote. Pat.
Constantino, yes.
Fogg, yes.
Jessamine is a yes. Eric?
Pyra, yes.
John?
Scanlon, yes.
Okay. There you have
Thank
it.
you. Sorry for the interruption.
Thanks for the reminder.
Thanks for the reminder.
Yep.
Good night.
Jeannie?
Good night.
Good night.
Over to Tim. Tim, you got
Okay.
10 minutes.
All right, nothing like a little pressure. All right, I just want to give you a couple of updates and make you aware of some things that we're going to need signed within the next week. So first thing is we're looking at having the board sign the short-term financing note on the 23rd, which is a week from tonight. And as part of that, there's a commitment letter from the bank. The bank's loan committee approved the loan, the bank's board approved the loan, and the next step is we receive the commitment letter and sign that, and that's in your sign now, awaiting your signatures. And then that goes to our bond counsel, who, along with some other documentation we send back to the bank, including her tax exempt opinion letter. And then we're set to close on the 27th, which will just be really an exchange of paperwork on the 27th, and we'll have the funding available to us from that point forward. So that's for the 4.7 million over the next 1 year. And as part of that, there is part of what the board is going to have to sign is a certificate of no arbitrage and also tax exemption. And there's a whole bunch of things that the IRS requires to meet a tax exempt bond. Things such as not renting out the facility. In other words, you can't make money on can't make taxable profit on a tax exempt financing. There's a number of stipulations. As you can imagine with the IRS, it's a long litany. And in your board packet folder, you'll find that there's a post-issuance compliance guidelines, and then there's also a post-issuance compliance resolution that's attached to a memo. And the memo is from our bond counsel, and it describes kind of a 30,000-foot view, the reason why we need to have this. And part of having this in place is also assigning a coordinator within the town, which would, I would think, logically be the finance director, to make sure that the post-issuance compliance is in place for the IRS should they ever come back and audit us on this particular financing. So, and we do have to report the financing, not only on the construction portion, but also on the long-term bond. When we get it, we have to file IRS forms, and we have to note whether we do have this post-issuance compliance in place or not. So I would like for the board to adopt these guidelines, which were developed for a number of towns by Divine Millimet, and then also to appoint me as the coordinator for that, which I'm so named. The title is named in the resolution. And I did put the resolution in your sign now as well. It's attached to the end of the memo. And outside of that, looking down my list, I believe that's it. So we should be all set, after next Thursday for our short-term financing. The one thing that I'm looking at right now is, and leaning towards, even though we're going through the application process for the July New Hampshire Bond Bank offering, looking at skipping that July offering and looking at a January offering, because at that point, all of our contingency money would be, washed through. So we wouldn't be bonding anything that we don't need. And the project should be complete by then. So we'll have a much better feel of that 450,000 and whatever philanthropy comes through, and grants and donations and in-kind donations. Maybe we can bond a whole lot less than, maybe we'll be at 4.3 million or 4.4 million at that point in time. So, so there's some things to think about, and but that's what I'm looking at right now. The only other thing I can offer up, which is part of what Eric had mentioned earlier about the rooms and meals, is kind of keeping our powder dry for other projects. So, I know you're looking at Academy Street. I know that's a safety issue, among other things. But if there are projects that aren't necessary to do this particular year, it might be something that the board might want to give some more thought to. Do you want to keep your powder dry? Just in the case that we have something that is an emergency down the road that would require fixing, that we might have more trouble raising and appropriating money for. So it's just a comment on that. But otherwise, unless you have anything for me, that's it.
Tim, would you please identify potentially some of the projects that you're referring to?
Why don't I come up with a list? I mean, the big ones that come to mind are, like Academy Street. I know that's it's coming out of the capital reserve, but what if we can't put the same amount of money into the capital reserve next year? We have to finish the street that we have right now in process. So things of that sort.
Okay.
Big things.
Okay. Well, the time is 6:27. Is there any members of the public out there that would like to ask a question? All I hear is crickets. Maybe it's my audio. I don't know. Well, the time being 6:27. We go over to page 3. The time being 6:27 p.m., I'd like to make a motion to move into non-public session for RSA 91-A, ;3, paragraph 2A, the dismissal, promotion, or compensation of any public employee or the disciplining of such employee or the investigation of any charges against him. Do I have a second?
Second, Constantino.
Okay, roll call vote.
Constantino,
Pat?
yes.
Peter?
Clark, yes.
Jessamine is yes. Eric?
Ira, yes.
John?
Scanlon, yes.
Okay, let me remind you to please hang up your phone or disconnect your GoToMeeting or move away from this computer completely, and call the number provided on your agenda under non-public. No one else has this number. If you've misplaced the number, please call Jeannie. Okay. And at this point, we will go to non-public. Please hang up.
I'll be waiting for you.
Yeah, buddy. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Joe. Oh, a nice little nap.
Oh. All right.
Nobody came.
No visitors. You all by yourself.
Just me and dead air, and probably a little sounds of sleep.
Okay, we're one short, two short.
I
So I
think the
think
only,
Joe was the first one back, I guess.
no,
Yeah.
I think the only thing other than if you have other business is the minutes, and you could do those tonight or you could do them next week.
I'm here.
Okay. So that's four. We just one short.
Peter?
Just want to remind everybody, if you can sign that commitment letter by tomorrow afternoon, would be great.
That's going to be on the signature page.
It is. Yep.
Okay.
And also, talking about signatures, the architect's contract is ready to be signed in the office. Tim, I don't know if we should try to do that with an e-signature, or do you want to come in and look at it? Okay. Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
I signed it this morning.
Oh, okay.
The contract?
I'm going
For
to
the,
Bradford.
for the architect.
Yeah, I
Peter.
signed it.
Well, we have a quorum.
Let me see if I can get him on the phone.
All right.
Tim, there's a document that needs to be signed in the board pack.
What I do is I put the documents that so you can review it, but it's actually in the sign now.
Okay.
The resolution is in the sign now, and also the commitment letter is in the sign now.
Okay.
Hey, Peter. Are you having a problem getting in?
Because John, there was also another document there. There was the guidelines for the resolution, guidelines for those post-issuance
I'll drop down.
IRS guidelines.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
So he said he's trying to get on. I don't know if you want to. Here he is, I think.
There he is.
Here he is.
Yep.
All right. Terrific. I'll make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to personnel issues and the matters have yet to been settled. Is there a second?
Constantino, second.
Roll call vote. Pat?
Constantino, yes.
Yes.
Jessamine is a yes. Eric?
Ira, yes.
John?
And Scanlon, yes.
All right. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen? Pat?
Yes, I have one thing. I'll probably get daggers from the right-hand corner over here, but my understanding is that Jeannie took the Monday off, happened to be her birthday, but I'm hoping that she didn't take paid time off, and I'm asking the board to make sure she didn't take paid time off, because in the last 3 or 4 months, I have not seen, in my days of selectmen with Tim and Jeannie, the amount of work and effort that they've put in hours with what's gone on and the amount of stress and all of what's going on. We can at least afford her a day. So I will make that into a motion if we have to, but I think it should just be consensus that she not take the paid time off on Monday.
Well, you said that perfectly, Pat. I trained you with the right words.
Catch you later for payment. No.
No, I appreciate that, but it's really not necessary.
Well, it is, because we need to appreciate the people that work hard for us. And I think that if I had brought that up earlier, you would have denied it. And I because that's the type of person that you are, and that's the type of person Tim is. And we really need to appreciate the employees that work hard for us.
Is there a second to, who was that? There's a second?
If there's a motion, I'll second that.
That would, Pat made the motion. There's a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion?
Just for the record, just so that people know that Jeannie is a salaried person, and so therefore it's not like there's hours there. She's worked more than the standard number of hours on a regular basis, especially in this terms, and also weekends and just every other moment. So I'm most certain that her time's been well accounted for in our benefit already, without even giving her this. She deserves it.
Well, so thank you. I appreciate that. And I know this started with me and because I took the day off for my birthday, so thank you. But I do feel like I really need to say that Mr. Pearson there in the center,
yep,
and I know you've said it, but and he didn't have a birthday and he didn't take it off, but Tim's, I mean, I think we've all, everybody's worked really hard. So,
yes.
And I appreciate that.
Is there any other discussion amongst the selectmen and only the selectmen? Hearing none, roll call vote. Pat? Roll call vote. Pat?
No, yes.
Peter?
Yeah.
Jessamine is a yes. Eric?
Ira, yes.
John?
Scanlon, yes.
Okay, it's unanimous. The motion passes. Happy birthday. Okay,
Thank
then.
you. Very nice.
Is there any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen this evening?
You want to wait to do the minutes next week?
Oh.
Hey, if everybody looks at the minutes and they have their corrections written down, should only take a couple minutes. And next time we're going to do it wham bam. All right? There's no
Motion
other
to adjourn?
We're going to do the minutes. Right?
I thought you were saying next
We're
time.
going to take a couple minutes.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor. No, there isn't a motion on the floor.
Wasn't
Because there was
seconded.
no second.
All right. It's only going to
Let
take a
us,
couple minutes.
let us bring the minutes of 4-2, and I'm in the dark here now. Go turn on a light.
4-2? Oh, we did 4-2.
Nope.
4-2.
The minutes of 4-2 and 4. My God. 9? Yeah. There we go. 4-9 to the floor for discussion. Are there any changes to either set of minutes?
I just have changes to 4-9.
Okay, Pat, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So on 4-9, on page 2, where it says the town administrator opened the only bid received for sweeping from Immaculate Power, that paragraph. We talked about, it says the companies who were sent the request for proposals will be contacted to confirm they did in fact receive the RFP. We also talked about Kevin doing work with the multi-one as opposed to contracting more streets, looking at using labor, public works labor in the street, the contracting price of the bid from Immaculate Power. And that's not in here. He was going to go back and take a look at that.
And maybe you could shoot me an email with that, because we had a little bit of a problem with the recording in the beginning, and Gail did say to me that it was in this area that there were some problems. So she said she expected somebody to say something about that there's something missing.
Okay.
Is that it?
Nope, I got one other thing. On the same page, it says Kevin recommended placing speed bumps on Peabody Street discussion. Selectman Pyra suggested a reverse speed bump, and then it went on to say there was discussion of obtaining the residents' input. Well, I believe John strongly asked that we did a public hearing, and that's what we've done in the past, was a public hearing.
For speed bumps?
Yeah,
Yes.
they've come and we've.
Was there a vote? I don't recall if there was a vote on it. Here's one of the challenges is that, you'll have one selectman say something, no one else really says anything. Is that then the direction? Or it would be helpful for me if somebody makes a suggestion that you all have consensus, because otherwise if just somebody throws something out there,
I'm sorry, but your point is, though, when you last week you said if it was said at the meeting the way it was said at the meeting is the minutes, and if we make a suggestion that it should be a public hearing, then that's what should be written in the minutes.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're talking about two different things. So yes, I agree with you. He did say it should be in the minutes, but what I was trying to understand, I did not take that because that one selectman said it and I didn't hear a vote or consensus that that's something we should do. So,
no, I'm not talking about that. We are talking about two different things.
Okay.
You're right. We did not follow up on that, and we didn't decide whether we should do that or not, but it should be in the minutes that it was suggested, because later, if Kevin goes and puts a speed bump down there, they're going to say, well, geez, how come you didn't do that? Well, we suggested it, but we didn't follow up on it. Okay. And we didn't talk about it, and it was in the minutes.
Yep, we'll get that.
But in the past, we have always well, in the last 10 years, we've always had input from the neighbors, a public hearing. We've said, okay, we're going to talk about this at the selectmen's meeting, and they've come in and talked about it, yay or nay, and then and residents from the area have come in. So we have not decided on that. So you're right on that part. But as far as being in the minutes, it should be in the minutes. And I just,
Yes, I agree. Get it
and
in.
one more thing, and that's where Scott Davis on page 3 commented on his intention was never to touch the road. His intention was to go to the property line. And I think I touched on this earlier. It does say something here. It says he suggested using technology to camera all the services and take a footage reading. Well, that's when the discussion came up where we had asked about the camera footage. And asked that we send a letter. That's when we had the conversation. And again, Jeannie, I don't think it was consensus, and you didn't say, well, let me confirm, is this consensus? And we want to go out to the sewer commission and say, do we want this? But it was a discussion that said, can we ask the sewer commission for their mapping in what they've done with all of their camera lines on Cedar Street, Pine, and Highland and Linden that they did.
Okay.
So that part should include that area.
Okay.
Well, suggested that we talked about it or discussion, whatever.
Okay.
That's it.
Is that it, Pat?
Okay. I just have one more.
Way too much time on my hands.
John?
Yes, just if we could add in a little bit on the bid for the sweeping. There was a conversation that the letter had been returned as no mailbox or something like that. If we could put that in there so that it shows why we're asking for more proposals and why we went into that.
Okay.
I'm good.
So just so you know, when we followed up on that, they sent it to the wrong address.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would explain it.
Yep.
Okay, are there any other corrections? I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 2nd as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second that. Peter?
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor by roll call vote. Pat?
Constantino, yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Jessamine is yes. Eric?
Pirate, yes.
John?
Scanlon, yes.
It's unanimous. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 9th as corrected, as amended. Is there a second?
Constantino, second.
Roll call vote.
Constantino, yes.
Yes.
Peter? Jessamine is yes. Eric?
Pirate, yes.
And John?
Scanlon, yes.
Okay, that takes care of the minutes. Is there any other business to come before the Board of Selectmen this evening?
One more thing.
Okay, one more thing.
The governor announced today that there's no school for the rest of the year. That being said, what do you call that thing that we painted down by T-Hawk?
The siphon pump.
The siphon pump. So that kind of puts us out of the running for that siphon pump to get done, right?
Well, no, actually, I anticipated this was going to happen, and I've actually been researching almost large scale paint by number. I want to see if there's something that we could put up and then have individuals separately go and paint pieces so that we can get it done.
I need by the number. I love it.
I love color. I love color.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Well, there you go. Pat, What's your other thing?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Ira second.
Roll call vote. Pat,
Montesino, yes.
Peter,
Todd, yes.
Jessamine is a yes. Eric,
Ira, yes.
John.
Scanlon, yes. Vote with your finger.
We stand adjourned. Thank you very much, Tim. and Amy.
Thanks.
Good night.
Good night.
Night, everyone.
Night.